John!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down! Come on! Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
Welcome back. It is the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. Sooners go to West Virginia, go to Morgantown, and lose it 23-20 in shocking fashion to everyone that watched. And we now bring in Eddie Radosevich, who is en route back to Pittsburgh, where he's going to fly out in the morning. We do not have an Eskridge Lexus plane, but we're hoping, crossing our fingers, maybe you'll buy enough Lexuses that they'll let us use a private plane someday, maybe. So anyway, we welcome in Eddie. And Eddie, what just a horrific day, I imagine, of shooting. I know a lot of people don't see it on TV, but I could tell it was just awful.
Yeah, it was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. I think it's been raining 95% of the time since we got to Pittsburgh on Friday. And, the way that Oklahoma played today and the way that performance unfolded this afternoon was kind of the icing on the cake. It was, it rained the entire time, basically. It was cold. It got colder throughout the game. And yeah, it was just a 10 out of 10 miserable experience. And it was,
kind of like this season. It's a 10 out of 10 misery.
Yeah. And like this is the fifth time that we've done a post-game podcast where we're having to talk about this bullshit. And I mean, it seems like, and I know we've said this before, it's like every time that you think it's gotten, okay, this is as bad as it could possibly get, they find a new depth of just awful. It's truly embarrassing.
Do we not just give up at this point? I mean, are we the idiots for even caring, or, we have to. We have a lot of subscribers that pay us to do this, but it is almost like shame on us for even expecting something positive to happen.
Well, and especially when you're talking about discipline of a football team that just isn't there. I mean, they are the most undisciplined football team that Oklahoma's put out on the field in a long time. I mean, and I know that they were undisciplined. It's been a problem within the program for a couple years, but they're taking it to a new level. And it seems like, I don't know if it's the coaches. I don't know if it's the players. Like, I think it's everything. It's coaches and players. And I thought, today particularly, I thought Brent Venables and that staff made some absolutely awful decisions.
Yeah, I really thought that this was the first game. And you know how I felt last week. I put it on the players. I said that they crater mentally when bad things happen. Today was really pretty much the first day where I thought, wow, this coaching staff really made some just terrible decisions throughout.
Yeah, they were awful. I thought the decision to kick the field goal with 6:24 left was absolutely abysmal. I thought it was asinine. Zach Schmidt put a good strike on the ball, didn't go through, but like with the conditions and everything that were out there today, and then the fact that you don't even get the ball back, like you can't get off the field, they just run out the clock. It's embarrassing. And, it's been a problem for this team, basically all season, not being able to get off of the field on important downs defensively. And that happened yet again today. It was just absolutely, it was awful. I can't remember a more awful top to bottom performance by an Oklahoma football team in a long time. And I think it kind of sinks in a little bit more when you realize that's not a good West Virginia team, and they had a backup quarterback that had run for 90 yards, came in, and he basically was untackable at times. It was just I don't know. It's frustrating to a certain extent. We've talked time and time again on the Unofficial 40. We've talked about it here on the postgame podcast about the talent level in Norman right now. they just don't have guys that are good enough to make plays. And when you're in position, you got to be able to make some plays, and they can't do it. It's really kind of awkward.
There is zero killer instinct involved with this football team, whether it's offensively or defensively. Eric Gray's about the only person you can say that about. But you look at Dylan Gabriel, you look at Marvin Mims. I mean, the big drops that Marvin Mims continues to have. And I know he ended up, having a touchdown catch later on after he figured out his glove situation, but that's another thing. It's like attention to detail. How do you know that, you're wearing the wrong gloves on a day like that to where the ball's going to just bounce right out of your hands? Like, they were talking about that on the broadcast about how West Virginia, their players knew which gloves to wear, and Oklahoma was wearing the modern gloves that got more slick as it got wet. And anyway, but it's just defensively, I mean, there were some good things that happened, and then Garrett Green comes into the game, and it's like the entire game plan falls apart. I mean, they were shutting out West Virginia. They were playing really well defensively in the first half, not getting any help from the offense even. And then all of a sudden you get some prosperity, and the defense just lets West Virginia go right down the field with Garrett Green and score before the half.
It's funny too, because once something goes bad, and we talked about this before, like, I feel like this is a very repetitive process. When something goes bad, they do not respond well, and the adverse situations, they just basically crater. And you that's a perfect example of what you were just talking about. Like, the first half, you finally get a 10-0 lead, you feel pretty good about everything going into halftime, and then you give up a big kick return. Like, it all compounds on top of itself. And then, next thing you know, 3 plays later, West Virginia's in the end zone. So it's.
And by the way, on that kick return, you could tell like half the team just wasn't doing their job. It was just like they just thought, okay, everything's going well. We're doing this. We can do this. We don't have to really, play our assignments or make sure that we're in the right spaces on this kickoff. And an entire half of a field gets folded into the middle. It opens up this huge gap on the right side. The guy just runs right through it. Like, it's just like they just quit. They quit playing because they're like, well, we're up 10-0. It's almost halftime.
I'll put the
Go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry.
I'll put the clip. Oh, no, I'll put the kickoff clip on the board in the pod thread, because the right side of that unit just there was nobody there.
Right.
Like, I thought he was going to return it all the way.
They all got blocked into
nobody there. Everybody.
They just all got blocked into the middle of the field.
Yeah. And there's just, I mean, it's just little things, like the details and again, it's like, I thought that was going to be the one thing. If you were talking about a Brent Venables-led team, that was the one thing you were not going to have to worry about, was discipline and doing the little things right. And as much as they talk about it, and, we go back to the unofficial 40 conversation we had this past week with Danny Stutzman, it's like 1 inch or 1 foot, it matters.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if they do they not get it? Like, is it not embarrassing enough to go out there and get beat by a 3-6 football team today? Like, I don't know.
I will say this:
the light's going to come on. It's not going to come on this year. I mean, this whole season's.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: like, I sat there and I make sure, like, before we do the podcast, you're putting up videos, and I'm making sure I'm watching them to see what everybody said. And it literally got to the point, like, I watched Brent Venables' press conference. He's very concerned. I mean, you can tell he's been kicked in the nuts for 40 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever. He's not happy. And then you get to the players, and just player after player after player. And it's just, to me, it's an overall attitude of, yeah, things didn't really go our way this way. We need to get back in the lab and kind of discuss it and see where we can get better. And it's like, are you ever going to take this personally? Are you ever going to get pissed off about this? Are you ever going to admit that this isn't good enough, not just for you, but for the fans and for everyone? I mean, for everyone, for your family. Like, this isn't good enough. Like, when are you going to just, like, show people, like, we care? Because I don't see that. And I know that everybody's coached up, but my God, I mean, you can show that you care and that you're pissed off and that this isn't good enough without, just going on a rant. I mean, I want somebody to go on a rant. I want a player to go on a rant. People ask us, like, well, you go to the press conference and you ask all these accusatory questions, like, fine, but I want a player to come out and be pissed off and blame people and point fingers and blame themselves.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think it's the biggest thing in the world. Like, it's, and I hate to even call the guy out, but like, walking off the field after the game, and like Wanye Morris is just like laughing with people, and it's like, I mean, what's funny right now? You guys just got embarrassed. I don't know. It's kind of aggravating,
that's not the
seeing
scene.
That kind of shit.
That's not like the scene in Fever Pitch where you're mad because Johnny Damon is laughing and eating dinner after they lost. Like, you literally are on the field laughing after you just had one of the most embarrassing losses of the season to a 3-5 team coming into this.
Yeah, and it feels like it's going the completely opposite direction. And for, as much as Brent can stand up at the podium and talk about finishing the right way and worrying about the little things and taking care of the things that they can control, it just seems like nobody's doing that.
Nobody gives a shit, it seems. I mean, I'm willing to start calling people out for just not giving a shit. And you know what? If you don't give a shit, you don't need to be here.
No, and I don't know. I mean, if today's not the rock bottom of the season, and that's including being shut out at the Cotton Bowl, I don't know what is. Like, and there's some manner that today was way worse than the Cotton Bowl. It just was.
I mean, to me, it's the same old stuff. I mean, it is a team that has no backbone, that has no killer instinct, that has no attention to detail, that they don't really care, and they're not really here to be champions. I mean, I don't know many people, like, I hate to say this because he had such a great game, but Eric Gray seemed to be really happy in his performance today. Like,
yeah,
I know he says the right things. It's like, well, it's only a loss, but like, there are so many individuals on this team, and I think it's been fostered by the former staff that people are here to get theirs. And I don't really feel a collection of players. I don't feel a team. I feel a lot of guys that, it's just like the Justin Broyle stuff today. Everybody was very, bothered by it, and it hurt them to see him go down. But at the same time, like, all these guys are talking about other things, and it just seems like it's deflecting. Like, they're like, yeah, it's another bad day, but we'll get it fixed out. You're 5-5. You might not go to a bowl because I don't think you can beat Oklahoma State or Texas Tech at this point on the road.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, they don't take it personally. It's kind of, I don't know, it's frustrating, I guess, in a way, just to see the, like, complete collapse that they are going through right now. And it's like the first quarter, as that offensively, it was just absolutely abysmal. And I'm walking down to the other end, changing end zones, and talking to somebody that had been on the sidelines for the first quarter. And, he basically said, there's a lot of fighting going on right now. And it's just like, God, is this what this is? Is this what this thing is? I don't know, man. It is so flat out embarrassing and inexcusable the way that they're playing football right now. And to know that, like, a lot of these guys were on, not a lot of these guys, but there were some guys on this team last year that somehow found a way to get to 9-0 at one point. It's hard to justify how quickly this thing has kind of fallen apart on them. And, it's like, here we are again talking about another Oklahoma loss, where I'm going to say that I still believe that Brent can do this, but goddamn, like, it is headed in a really, really bad direction. And, I'm sure that we'll talk about it on the Unofficial 40 this week, as far as, what the, recruiting fallout's going to be. I think that, everybody feels like there's going to be some more defections. It is so bad right now that it's hard to justify. And when the decommits do come, it's going to be at a point, Carey, where, we talked about this earlier, that it's kind of like, you're going to have to just shrug your shoulders and go, yeah, I can understand that. Why would you sign up to play for this shit right now?
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. I mean, I always said, like, there's nothing to worry about until defections start happening. This recruiting class falls apart. We're on the verge of that right now. And I'll say this. I mean, I'm not the recruiting guy at the site, but I'll give Donnie Hazelwood a shout-out. He DM'd Josh and I, and he said, hey, I just noticed that PJ Adebore has started following Ohio State recruiting reporters. So, like, Josh just said just on Wednesday that was the most important guy that could make an impact right away. If you lose PJ, like, this thing is going south. Like,
yeah.
If that happens, then, like, look, I don't think Brent's in trouble. I don't think he should be in trouble. He's got to have a year. But if you start having this class fall apart on you, then, I mean, what's left if you're Brent? You're not able to get this team to play well, to play disciplined, to even line up correctly, and then all of a sudden you start losing the recruiting class. Like, you're staring at potentially a black hole that you're going to put this program in if it doesn't get turned around. So, I mean, there's way more that has to happen before that. I mean, you have to miss out on a bunch of guys in the portal and all that stuff. But I mean, you're 5-5. You literally are staring at 5-7 in the face, not going to a bowl game, losing a bunch of your recruiting class. Like, you're headed towards off-season crisis at this point.
I mean, it's incredible. And everything that they're doing right now on the football field, you draw back to 1998. Like, they're going to finish under 500 for the first time since 1998 in conference play. It's just so bad. And today was kind of the cherry on top of everything. Like, it is a dismal, pathetic, awful performance. There's no way around it. And, today was the first day that I think you can sit back and you go, yeah, there were some asinine coaching decisions. There were some just awful individual performances. It was terrible. And, I think the fan base now is at a point where they're angry. Like, they've officially, if you weren't there yet, today got you there with the way that they played. And, with Spencer Sanders back in next week, and then obviously a trip to Lubbock on the horizon, 5-7 is a very, very, very real possibility. And if that's how that goes after you spent, basically a week talking about, you're 5-4, if you can get to 8-4, finish the right way, you can build some momentum into the off season. It just seems like it is so far away from that becoming a reality. And obviously, it's not going to happen now with today's loss, but it just, I don't know. I don't know where to begin in describing I guess it would be disappointment in just how undisciplined they are. Just from top to bottom, it seems like every little thing that they can't do, they find a way to do it. And not only do they do it, but it's like in an impressively terrible fashion.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I look at this thing, and I look at the Big 12. Like, the Big 12, they have the most parity of any other league in the country right now. I don't think you can argue that. And there is not a lot of difference between TCU and Baylor and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Like, there's just not a lot of difference there. But when you have a team like Oklahoma that is right on par with those guys, and they're doing things in the game that make them lose these games to equally talented teams, if not more talented than, it just shows you the margin of error. And once again, I go back to the players. Why don't they recognize that? Why don't they understand, like do they have to go 5-7 for this team to turn? Like, maybe you lose some recruits, but maybe you also lose some of the players that you don't need to have around this program. I don't know.
I mean, they
I know
gave
people
up
on
a
the
touchdown today.
I know people on the boards are like, you need to have a house cleaning. Like, and I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, everybody on the board, I sat there and talked, put up a thread after the game, addressed all the questions or the comments that people were making. Everybody is arguing about every little facet of this program, and nobody's wrong. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong. It's coaching, it's players, it's want to, it's desire, it's talent level. Like, it's all relative. Like, I'm not I'm not sitting here, and I won't sit here this week and tell someone you're wrong. It's not coaching. It's more players. It doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter. It's all bad. Like, everybody is screwing this thing up. You can point the fingers at why do we always have to take sides in this stuff? I don't know why that is. It's just bad.
It's every person that stood on the Oklahoma sidelines outside of I will save Chris Plank and Gabe Eichert. Like, it's every person that is associated with the program right now. I just, like, they get the 4th and 16 that you somehow give up a first down after you line up offsides, Grayson Halton. You get a pick, and that gets wiped off the table. And then they go down and they're able to convert the 4th and 12 or whatever it ended up being, or 4th
It was 4th
and 10.
It was 4th and that's the thing. It's like with Garrett Green, he's in the game. He's not a good passer. He's in there to run the ball. And he had a couple of completions in the game, but you are getting to him. You're rattled. And all of a sudden, you put a 3-man front up there on that play and drop everybody back into coverage, and he still completes the pass. Like, that was another really weird, bad coaching decision today. And granted, hindsight is 20/20, but from the moment I saw a 3-man rush, I was like, that is not what you want to do.
Yeah, and even further back in the third quarter, you have R. Mason Thomas coming up with a big sack. You think you're going to get off the field, and he grabs the face mask. Like, the inattention to detail, the just lack of just outright discipline, jumping on a 4th down, on a 4th and 1 that you have to end up punting. It's just so bad. I don't understand how they keep doing it. Like, none of these problems are getting fixed. They're getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's I remember somebody was like, how are you guys going to keep doing pods at this rate? Like, we don't know. We're just doing a pod. It's probably not going to be an hour-long pod, but
I feel like I'm going insane watching this shit. It is truly, like, I was talking to a buddy that is, he's another coach, and it's just like, it is so, it's to the point, it is almost unwatchable. Like, today was very almost unwatchable.
Well, and here's the other thing, too, and I put this, like, here's my problem with the coaches. That was my post on the board. And it's just certain things, like, you're still having trouble picking up short yardage, yet you're not going back to the Wildcat. Like, you did it, like, you realize, like, this was beneficial even after the Texas game because you did it a couple of times. But, like, why aren't you making that a part of your package on a more regular basis? Because if Eric Gray is in there and he's running for 8.4 yards a carry, I'd like to get him the ball of the Wildcat so you have an extra man, blocking for him. Like, it just
my favorite.
And then Eddie, the refusal to realize that your defense is no good and that you don't need to go up tempo. Like, that's the other thing the other main problem I have with the offense right now.
Yep, and Josh has been harping on that for a while now. One of my favorite sequences today offensively, and I say favorite, it was just complete. It's just like, what the hell's going on? Was after they tie it up at 20, you come out. You're basically, you had kind of started to command yourself in the game, in which you were able to get. I think they were getting 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And they throw, and it's pouring. It is pouring at this time, and you throw 3 passes coming out of the end zone. The crowd's back into the game. Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to justify some of the decisions. And I thought the worst decision in the entire game was to try to kick the field goal with 6.5 minutes left. Like, even if I understand that they were 1 for 11.
They were gonna score a touchdown no matter what. I mean, they were going to win that game. If you kick that field goal right there and get 3. The way that your defense played, they could have scored a touchdown at the end of the game if they really wanted to.
Sure.
And it was the worst chip shot field goal you'll ever see to win a game, but that's all they needed.
Yeah, and I thought basically when they missed that field goal there, they're waving the white flag. Like, it's like, we wanted to take a 3-point lead, throw the defense back out there, maybe they'll get a stop. But it was almost kind of a punch in the gut as you're watching Zach Schmidt run out there, because not only do you know that it's probably the wrong decision, but it just felt like they were almost kind of waving the white flag and saying, we're fine with taking a 3-point lead here because we've been so bad, instead of saying, let's line up, try to get this and go win the football game, if that makes sense. I know that they were trying to win the football game by kicking the field goal, but it kind of felt like the opposite in a way by electing to kick the field goal there. It was.
Although, you know what? The chances were still pretty high. They go for it on 4th and 3. They get stuffed for like a 1-yard gain.
But at least you're putting your balls on the table and trying to do it.
And they're still on the 28, and you're still tied, and you know it probably plays out the same way, but still, it looks better. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just so abysmal right now. It's hard to it's inexcusable. It just is. Like I guess that in a way it kind of sounds arrogant, but this shit just shouldn't be happening at Oklahoma. They should not be playing football the way that they're playing right now. It's that embarrassing. And Brent obviously cares. He was pissed off last week in the press conference after the Baylor game. Today, I think it was more of I don't know, maybe embarrassed. Maybe just kind of reality smacking him in the face a little bit that,
by the way, I think
it's nowhere close.
I think we should address this since I am the quality Nazi. What happened, it was so cold and raining so much, and like Eddie has rain gear and all that, but when you go from like 40 degrees inside to like 70 degrees, you get a bunch of humidity. And like that's when you see the videos, they're all fogged up, but it's just like that tells you how ridiculous the day was. Like that your camera can't even function because of the weather.
The lens would not. It was like inside the lens that where the moisture was coming from. It was kind of just the perfect ending to just a really shitty day. I don't know, man. Like I still think they can find it at some point. I mean, obviously it's not going to be this year, but it's so just foul that like
they need. I mean, they need a guy. They need a guy that goes into the locker room and just punches people in the face for being pussies. I don't know what. I don't know how else to explain it. Like they need an alpha dog. Like they don't have one of those. By the way, worst thing for Baylor happened. Adrian Martinez got knocked out of the game, and now Will Howard's just throwing darts all over the field.
Of course he is. It's
but see, Eddie, that's another thing, though. It's like OU has this thing where it's just like you look at K-State. I mean, Adrian Martinez running quarterback kills them. Today Garrett Green, like JT Daniels, like he wasn't made for this type of game, and he wasn't doing well. And they bring in a guy with a little bit of spark with his feet. It does some things that make you question if you're, in the right gap. And to come off of that Iowa State game where you shut down the run and they threw it 57 times, and then to come into this where you basically get the backup quarterback and they're like, oh, I like the way that works compared to the starter. And then you just keep throwing him out there and he becomes the difference maker. Like that to me is one of the more troubling things is that OU cannot handle certain types of quarterbacks, which has been a historical problem, but that just shows you how messed up this defense is.
Yeah, it's awful. And, the sad thing is you kind of walk out of today saying, like, defense actually played pretty well.
They got pressure all day. I mean, the defensive line was not an issue. They had tackles for losses today. I mean, I hate to say this, it looks better, but it's still, like I said, in crunch time, it's still a losing proposition. I mean, you're not letting teams score 49 points, you're letting them score 23, but the problem is they score that 23rd point as time expires.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to justify just how bad it was. It can't be justified. It's inexcusable just how piss poor that performance was today. And, like we talked about earlier, you can't blame one person. It's everybody. I mean, it is the whole fucking operation that is just, it seems like they, I'm not even at the point now where it's like confidence and shit like that. It's just, they're a bad football team. They are a bad football team.
By the way, post-game podcast brought to you all year. We got a couple more left. Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. They're getting more and more inventory in every day, but they've been a little light. But they're still getting cars in. Go to eskridgelexus.com. Check out their inventory. Check out what might be coming in, and you can get your name on something. But they've been great throughout this because they're not charging you. They're not upcharging you because cars have been so difficult to come by. Like a lot of dealers will do. So they're still charging MSRP, not over. So give them a call. Go to eskridgelexus.com. Ed the Boys will get you taken care of. And also make sure you get your service schedule, especially with the temperature changing. Make sure you get the car ready and the oil changed and all that stuff. And make sure your tires are right for this cold weather we're getting to go to. So, Eddie, moving forward, Bedlam next. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was as you were reading that the ad there, I just was thinking about how, and we've talked about this before, but it's like Danny Stutzman will have great moments, and I thought he was all over the field there for a while.
Yeah,
and then
he had a pick.
It's just like at the snap of a finger, it's just like the entire defense can't tackle.
Yeah,
and they start playing high. It's just, I don't know. I obviously, if the coaches knew how to fix this, it probably already would have been fixed. I refuse to believe that they like getting embarrassed every Saturday like they did today. But how does that happen that it's just so Jekyll and Hyde, so good for a second and then just so bad?
Because they don't realize what it takes to be consistent and to play consistently. I mean, they don't have the maturity to go out there every series and play with the same intensity.
Yeah. And I don't know. These guys have played football for a long time. This isn't like a high school team. I mean, they all played high school. I just don't understand how that hasn't sunk in on them yet, that they got to do it every down. And I don't know.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing, Eddie. Everybody is, we're getting some of the, bench Dylan Gabriel stuff again. If this defense had been part of the OU team 3 years ago, everybody would be like, wow, they're finally getting the defense fixed.
Yeah. I'm not going to go on another rant about this, but if you're one of the people that is your biggest takeaway from today was that they need to bench Dylan Gabriel, you can't be taken seriously anymore. You can't. I can't take that person seriously because there are so many other major issues within this program right now that it's hard for me to just throw it all at the feet of the quarterback. I don't know. They're just a bad football team. I guess in a way, I'm still almost finding reasons not to think that they're just a bad football team, but they are. They're just a mediocre 5-5, 2-5 in the conference, worst conference record in the league now. It is what it is. I don't know. It doesn't seem like anybody gives a damn though.
Yeah, no, I think a big part of your frustrations is you want the team to understand that this is how people feel about you because this is what they see. By the way, Danny Stutzman did lead the team in tackles with 14 today.
Yeah, he was all over the field at times, but then, when he kind of gets to nut crunching time, it's as the defense is trotting out there to after the missed field goal, there was 6 minutes left. It's okay, well, maybe you can get the ball back into the offense's hands and they can put together another drive. I don't think that there was any confidence within anybody that was watching that game that they were going to be able to do it. And then, West Virginia just bleeds the clock on them, and that was game, set, match. I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. It's unwatchable at times, the type of performance that they're putting out there because I don't think that they're stupid enough to know that this is inexcusable. But then again, it's the same shit, and it just keeps happening over and over and over again. And, I don't know. I don't know what can be said. I don't know what can be done. for them to wake up and realize that, they basically have pissed away an entire college football season.
Yeah, and kind of like we said in the beginning, like, when are these guys going to take it upon themselves? Like, I don't doubt that Brent Venables is a very intense person and that he could scream at someone all day long if he had to, but that's not how this works. Like, we've seen very intense people like Mike Stoops scream all day long, and he just gets tuned out. So,
well, I think that there's a little bit of that in what we were talking about of the unofficial 40 with the Sutsman comments over the 2 weeks ago on the Oklahoma Breakdown, or the podcast on the Prairie. Like, maybe they do just think this is a fucking joke. Like, this is just, they're college football players and they're having the time of their lives. I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like there is anybody that takes it personally that they're embarrassing themselves every Saturday.
I mean, look, I've always said this, like, when people are like, they don't care. Like, and I've always told people, like, if you think that the players don't care as much as you do, you're insane, because they're the ones that are busting their asses in practice every day. But I legitimately now think that maybe this team doesn't care as much as the fan base does.
I think that there's like a argument to be made that yes, they do care, but they only care to a point because it's about them, if that makes sense. That they only care because
they don't want to hurt their own brand, but they don't care about the team if it's not doing
because
so well.
Because they kind of have to care. But at the end of the day, like, if you look at, some of the real big programs across the country right now, there, I would imagine, are guys in the Alabama locker room or the LSU locker room or the Ole Miss locker room that it kills them to go out there and perform. And obviously they're not performing the way that Oklahoma is, but like, they would kill somebody to win a football game. I don't know if Oklahoma has very many of those guys right now. And obviously you're seeing that on the field on Saturdays.
Yeah. No, at some point you have to take it personally, and if you don't, then we just judge you as people that don't really have any pride in your school or your program or us as fans or media or whatever. I mean, whatever you want to term it, like, it's a reflection is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Your effort and your give a shit level is a reflection on everyone that cares about this program.
But they knew that. They signed up for this. When you come to the University of Oklahoma, at times when it gets tough, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of criticism. And if the criticism, in a certain way has just beaten these guys down so much, that's where you go, well, do they really care? And I think that, there's some people on the team and, walking off the field and shit and laughing. I don't know, man. Like, and that's where it goes back to leadership and all that kind of stuff. And I know that they're trying to instill that foundation in the first year, but it just seems like, a lot of that stuff should be there. I don't care. It's not like, and again, like, you go back to what they inherited from the previous staff. They won a lot of football games. There isn't an argument to be made that, well, they just, they took over a 3-8 program. They just gotta find a way. They gotta build a foundation. Like, for the most part, that foundation was there. Now, could that foundation have been improved? Obviously, they needed to. I think we all know that. But
it's interesting that you say that, because talking about just. I'm thinking about, like, people that surround these players. Like, you talk about tuning out the fans, because, like, if you look, I have to tune out the fans because it's too much during the game on the Scoop account. It's just like, I think I muted a couple of people today just for being jackasses. But it's like, you get some people that think like we're officially involved with like OU or something, and so they're like, how do you keep giving these coaches raises? And I'm like, I don't give anybody a raise. I haven't gotten a raise in a long time. Like, I'd give myself a raise before I gave them a raise. But it's like, I wonder if you're right. I wonder if the players, because of social media, almost have this adversarial view of fans now. Like, because they have so many people in their corner that are just like, and there's this whole subset of fans that like kiss their ass and want to be close to them. And I mean, some of the internet, popular, wannabe influencer people are like that. Like, there's some recruiting reporters that are like that. Like, they just want to be their best buddies. They'll never say anything bad. They'll never tell them the truth. Like, do these guys, have they insulated themselves from the truth? I guess that's what I'm wondering, just because it seems like they have so many people in their corner that will just tell them whatever they want to hear. They can just dismiss everybody else that's telling them the mean things.
Yeah. And, if that's the case, then this thing is way more broken than I think it is now. And I think this thing's pretty goddamn broken right now. It's just like, it's I don't know. It's crazy to say it yet again, but it's like, is this rock bottom? Have they bottomed out? I don't know.
I'd say with the give a shit that we've seen at certain times, it can get a lot worse than it is now.
Yeah. And
I could see another Texas coming when they go to Lubbock. If they really don't care, they're going to get embarrassed at least one more time before this thing's done.
That's the least amount of times. Like, with Spencer Sanders playing, and if he starts next week in Norman, OSU's going to embarrass him. And
he looked fine today.
If you think it was bad, if you think Spencer Rattler getting booed last year was bad, I dare you to not show up against Oklahoma State. Like, it will get
people will stay just to boo.
30,000 million times worse.
People will not clear out the stadium. They'll stay just to boo the OU team.
Yeah. It's
no, I would say that. I mean, if they could run out of that place next week again in Bedlam, I would be worried for Brent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I mean, Jesus Christ, it's 11 games into this thing, or 10 games in. That would be 11. And I don't think we're having serious conversations about firing Brent Venables, but it's to the point that you go, if this doesn't change, there's going to be people that are going to be irate, and they already are irate. And, talking about making the move to the SEC and all that stuff, they got to get this thing kind of figured out here sooner rather than later, or it is going to be too late, and the hole that they've dug is going to be too deep. And, that would be rather unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, the best thing is fixing it right now. Get your asses in gear, caring a little bit, taking it personally, getting better. Like, that's how you fix everything right now. All the other stuff, like what it would do to the program, how many years it would set it back if you fired this person or that person, like, we don't even need to go there yet. I mean, you can do that on Twitter. You can do that on the Crimson Corner. I'm not getting in that. I mean, I am not getting into the discussion where Brent Venables' job is in jeopardy at this point.
No. I'm not saying that we are. I just, I know one thing. Joe Castiglione isn't going to be happy with 7-5. Like, that, it's unacceptable. It's just flat out unacceptable. And the way that they're losing, the performances that they're putting out on the field it doesn't look like a Oklahoma football product.
Do we have to just start basically offering bonuses or something to get these kids to care now? Like, all right, if you finish 7-5, everybody gets an NIL deal.
I mean, the problem is, and I think the frustrating thing is to see all these other schools, especially in the Big 12, that are playing pretty good football right now. And they are what they are. As much as we like,
but they had their chance to be right there with a Baylor, with a Kansas State, and they f***ed it up. I mean,
yeah,
it's on you.
Yeah.
I mean, you were right there. It's on you. You're the ones that screwed it up.
Yeah,
you're the ones that let Adrian Martinez go for 51 on 4th and 16.
It's crazy. I mean, it truly is crazy. Just and how
the ones that couldn't get the 4th and 1 stop against Baylor to get the ball back. It's on you. You're the reason that you are where you are.
Yeah,
there's a reason that K-State is trying to go up 14-0 right now to secure a spot in the Big 12 title game.
It's also wild to me to sit there and just watch how many opportunities this team can be given. Like, they have been given opportunities and they just look the other way. Every single time they're given an opportunity to either run away with a game or build momentum, they piss down their leg. And, I don't know. Like, I think that is kind of a sign of bigger problems within the program right now. Is they don't know how to they don't know how to carry momentum. And it's wild to say that when you look at all the success that a lot of these players have had at Oklahoma over the last couple of years. And it was something that I think it was Eric Gray after the game said, just as far as, there's a lot of guys that, are new to the team. You're 10 games into this thing now. Like,
no, yeah, it's like there are no more rookies.
I'm sick and tired of hearing how, these, we had 40% new players on this roster and all that shit. It's like, your season's basically over. Like, it's over to a certain extent, but you got 2 games left and we're still talking about having to get used to everybody almost. It's an excuse. It is what it is. It's an excuse.
I want a player walkout this week is what I want.
I don't know. They just
we're beyond players only meetings. We don't need to. That's bullshit. I don't want to hear about. I want a freaking walkout. And I don't know what over. Not like to get rid of Venables, but just like give me some drama. Like show me somebody has gone crazy. Like make Brent Venables come out and announce that you are suspended on Tuesday because you I don't know, you did something in the locker room to piss everyone off. I don't like
tried to bring down the flight home from Morgantown. Tried to break into the cabin.
Yeah, something. I mean, do something to make me think you care, even if it's stupid.
Well, and that's one of the other problems with this team is that, you look at all the guys that are the quote unquote, kind of the leadership core of this group. And, I hate to, I hate to pick on somebody, but like an Ethan Downs, like he's obviously has had an up and down year. I'd say mostly down.
He did some good things today.
Yeah, he did. He played well. But like, just as an example, you would think like somebody that for the most part, like he grew up in Oklahoma, always wanted to play at OU. And I don't know. It's just like, it seems like they're like just pissing away an opportunity right now, to a certain extent, if that makes sense. Like this is what you've lived your whole life for. Go be that guy on this football team. And it just seems like there's a lot of guys that are trying to do it, but almost maybe too scared to speak out, or I don't know. Like, I don't know the inner workings of the entire group.
Well, I mean, it's like Brent,
like Reggie Grimes is
Brent's talked about, all year, like he wants to develop leadership. That's why he's doing the captain's thing. Like he's doing it. Like he wants to, but I don't see any leadership developing. Like, look, I think we've gone longer than I thought. I would just say this. Like, if you're an OU player and you're tired of people bitching about how you're playing, fix it. Like, fix it. You control the noise. Like, you control the volume. That was something Brent said early on in the year. You control the volume. And guess what? The reason the volume is so loud is because of you.
Yeah.
It's just like, care a little bit. Like, show people that you can fix it, and they'll shut the hell up. And they'll stop it. You can go back on social media because I'm sure most of those guys don't even want to be on social media.
Well, and it's like it's almost to the point where it would be a terrible look for the program. But I am almost at the point now where it's like maybe a fight like on the sidelines would be good.
Yeah,
I want to see somebody that has a little bit of fire that says I'm sick of this shit. Like another guy that I'd love Marvin Mims. But there are moments where it's like, does he care? Does he, like, after the drop? Do you
care about anyone else but yourself? I think that's the question I have sometimes for guys like Marvin.
Yeah, it's like
is this about OU, or is this about you and your brand and what you're going to do in the future? Like, are you a team or are you just a collection of individuals?
Yeah, And, I like, as you say that, I think back to some of the stuff Brenda said before about team, about, being all in the same unit, Team 128 and all that shit. It's like, I don't think that they get it. Like, there has to be some type of mentality change, or this shit's not going to get any better. And, I mean, I'd say it could get worse. I don't know how it could get worse. They lost to a team that is 3-6 today, that is flat out not a very good football team, and they didn't play well today. West Virginia did not play well.
No. Now, look, I'm
exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fan base is exhausted. I mean, I don't.
It's exhausting.
I would recommend, if you're listening to this pod tonight, it's 6, 7, 8, 15. If you listen to this in the next couple hours, get off of the internet and just go have a drink and then go to bed.
Yeah. Have a couple of drinks, then get back on the internet and start threatening people. That's the way to do it.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you really want to add that we didn't discuss in these 50 minutes?
I don't think so. It just, again, I would say that it's disappointing.
Should I expect like a resignation from Bob tomorrow or anything?
I would say it's disappointing, but I don't even know if you can be disappointed anymore. It's almost like disappointing, not because of the way that they played, just the overall product, that reality is kind of hitting them in the face. And this thing is not good right now. Like, it is as bad as I could ever remember it. Like, obviously, what was it, 2012 that was, or 2014
right,
was embarrassing to a certain extent.
You lost the Baylor game really bad. You lost the bowl game to Clemson really bad. You lost.
Yeah, but this feels different. Like, this just, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a new staff and there was so much excitement and hope.
Well, most OU seasons are, the disappointment comes near the end when you realize you were never really a national championship caliber team to begin with. We're not even a relevant conference team. Like, and you figured that out 10 games into the season.
Yeah, they're one of the worst teams in the Big 12. I mean, they are one of the worst football teams in the Big 12. And I don't know if that doesn't anger people, or at least start sounding some sirens within the locker room that maybe they need to look in the mirror and make some changes, within themselves, then, peace be with you. You got to leave. Like, I know that Brent Venables, he's too good of a football coach to be continually putting this shit out there. But, he's the one that's going to have to get this thing fixed. He's the one that's going to have to make decisions on who needs to be on this team, who doesn't need to be on this team. Do they need to make some changes within the coaching staff, which, will be even more awkward doing that less than 365 days after you took the job, because you'd be admitting that you made some bad hires. I don't know. Like, it is so bad. You got to put everything on the table, though. You got to put every single issue out on the table and figure out a way to get this right. And the only way to get this right is to start outscoring people on Saturdays, because it is right now, it's flat out embarrassing.
Yeah. And, maybe one of the things is something that he's been asked about that he's bristled about, which is maybe he needs to bring someone in with some head coaching experience that can kind of give him a second set of eyes.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Wells is standing right there on the sideline.
No, I'm saying someone that's been really successful. I mean, not saying Bob, but wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think Bob wants to do that, but
yeah, Bob doesn't want to be a part of this shit. He's a winner.
He's got a statue for a reason. He doesn't want to tarnish the statue.
God, I truly can't remember a more miserable, embarrassing experience than today in Morgantown. It was just top to bottom, from start to finish, just a complete shit show. It was a complete shit show.
Maybe we should make the players fly like the media does. Kind of like
Like on.
You got to have
Everybody's-
layovers and,
Yeah.
all that shit.
Well, the way that they play on the football field, I don't know if half of them be able to get back to Norman on their own.
Well, we wouldn't worry about those guys.
Yeah,
Only the crafty ones survive.
that's fine with me.
All right, that's gonna do it. Thanks to Eskridge Lexus. By the way, God, we do have a special Dead Soxy promo. What we told you about. Use that promo code SCOOP. OU did not reach. You get more than $20% off. So it was set at 35%. OU didn't reach it. So even though it sucks, go get some socks. At least get something out of this shit show. All right, you deserve it. You deserve to take care of yourself. Use that promo code SCOOP. 35% off. That deal is only going to last until kickoff of Bedlam. So go online, see what you want, put it in your cart, check it out. Use that promo code SCOOP. 35% off. So, all right, Eddie, safe travels getting back. Hopefully you don't get stuck in the de-icing line tomorrow at the Pittsburgh airport, which I've been stuck in before, not fun. And you and Bob get some rest, and I know you got early flights in the morning, so be glad to see you back here after this shit show this weekend.
Can't wait to get these socks off. My feet are so cold and so wet. I am, I might try to, I wish I could start a fireplace. I need a fireplace.
I didn't get to that room. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. We're okay. Don't deserve it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back again after Bedlam for, God, I hope a better edition of the Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.